You wanted to know what the pros and cons of parent-led scheduling are. And parent-led scheduling is essentially where parents dictate a schedule that the baby's going to follow. And there are proponents of this, and there are people who are strongly opposed to it for various reasons. Supporters of parent-led scheduling like it because it helps to get the baby on a routine earlier. They say that these babies tend to sleep through the night faster, and this regimented routine gives them the structure that children thrive on in life. People who are against parent-led scheduling are afraid that the baby may not get what they need, or their needs may not be met because it's not time for the baby to eat, although they might need to, so the parent neglects to feed them. And so, of course there are pros and cons, and I suggest sticking to somewhere in the middle, where you pay attention to the baby's feeding cues. You make sure that when they're acting hungry and they're rooting and they're acting a little bit fussy, before they get too upset, you're responding to them and feeding them. But you shouldn't let your baby nibble on the breast all day long, because there's problems associated with this too. They shouldn't use you as a pacifier, and if they just get, tiny little feedings here and there throughout the day, they may not be getting the good, rich hind milk that comes from a full feeding. You can kind of think of it like a tap. If you turn the hot water faucet on, in the beginning it starts out cold and gradually gets warmer and warmer until it's hot. And this is kind of like how the fat content of a mother's milk is. When the baby starts drinking, there's not a ton of fat in the beginning, but as the feeding progresses, it becomes fattier and fattier. So you don't want your baby to miss out on that by just snacking all the time. It's also important to take into consideration the fact that a newborn needs to eat every 2 to 3 hours for the first 1 to 1.5 months of life, and sometimes every hour when they go through growth spurts, and you should let them nurse or eat that frequently in order to meet their needs. As they get a little bit older, like between 6 to 8 weeks of life, they start to eat like 3 to 4 ounces every 3 to 4 hours. And it's okay to let them go a little bit longer in between feedings, as long as they're getting what they need during each feeding and acting satisfied in between. Now, the other half of the equation is sleep, of course, because a baby's sleeping patterns are largely dictated by their eating patterns. And so a lot of experts say that you shouldn't try to enforce a sleeping schedule until the baby's a little bit older, like maybe 3 months or so, and they can go all night without eating. So then that leads a lot of parents to ask the question, well, when can my baby sleep through the night without needing extra feedings? And ultimately, I suggest talking with your pediatrician about it, because they know what your baby's growth is, they know their circumstances, and can give you tailored information and advice about how often they should be eating and what a good sleeping schedule would look like for them. And then once you've gotten that advice, you can do things to encourage sleep or eating at different times of the day, so that it's maybe a little bit more predictable and convenient for you while also meeting your baby's needs. Good luck with everything, and if you have more questions in the future for me, feel free to ask them on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Intermountain Moms, and recommend us to your friends and family too.